Damla, I think we can start, shall we? What do you think? Yeah. Good afternoon and good evening, everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining us. It is great to have you with us in this very important conversation. As many of you know, the UN is undergoing a transformation, one that is not just about new tools, but about a new way of working. And the UN 2.0 is more than just a vision, it's a call for action to become more agile, to become more inclusive, and more intelligent in the way we deliver impact, especially in the most complex and rapidly changing environments. And today, we're very excited to share with you two innovative solutions that bring this vision to life, showcasing what the 2.0 looks like in action with smarter systems, data-driven insights applied in some of the world's most complex settings. These are two promising solutions that address different but yet deeply connected challenges. First, it tells us how we can track what is happening, what is changing in real time, especially in crisis and fragile environments. And second, how can we anticipate what might happen next so we're not always one step behind? I'm Iris. I'm from UN Women's Regional Office in the Arab States, and I lead the regional work on gender data monitoring systems and accountability. But before we dive in, let's start with a quick round of introduction. I am joined here today by three fantastic colleagues. Let me hand over to Michael, Demla, and Timothy in that order to introduce themselves, their roles, and the organizations they represent. Michael, over to you.
Thanks, Iris. Hi, everyone. I'm Michael Dusan-Aubin. I'm the Partner Services Lead at Kobo Toolbox, and I'm the project manager on Kobo's end for our partnership with UN Women, as well as a data visualization and analysis specialist.
Hi, dear colleagues. My name is Damla. I work as an analyst, political affairs officer in joint analysis and reporting section in UNAMA. So I'm based in Kabul. Today we are going to present you a UNAMA UNDP joint project. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Timothy Westlake. I'm a data scientist, a data consultant from the UNDP. And I'm in the project with Damla. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael, Demla, and Timothy. I'm really looking forward to hearing from each of you shortly. But before we dive into the presentations, just a quick note of how we're going to run the webinar. We will have two presentations back to back, followed by a Q&A session at the end. If you have any questions during the presentations, please feel free to type them into the chat box and we will collect them as we go. And to keep things on track, we'll hold on all the questions until the Q&A segment. If you think of something later or you want to connect with us afterwards, you're very welcome to reach out to us after the webinar. Now let's dive into the first solution we will be showcasing today. And I'll start with introducing TrackIt, which is the UN Women's Regional Office of Arab States Real-Time Monitoring and Accountability System. And I would like to start by explaining why this is urgent. Did you know that 60% of humanitarian operations still rely on spreadsheets and manual systems to track progress? And did you also know that less than 1% of global humanitarian funding systematically track to outcomes at the point of delivery? And it takes on average about 6 to 9 months for needs assessment data to inform decisions. But here's the deeper problem. We're not even seeing the full picture because gender data is still missing. In crisis settings, less than a third of data is disaggregated by sex and by age. And that means that the needs of women and girls remain invisible, not by accident, but by design. And often in UN Women, we are often asked, and we ask ourselves, what are the transformative changes we bring about in the lives of women and girls? Not how many trainings we've delivered or how many dignity kits we've sent, but how we've shifted outcomes. And that question, I'm sure many of you on the webinar here is also grappling with, and one that can only be answered with better data. And in the Arab states, our challenge is urgent. We are operating in one of the world's most protracted crises and complex emergencies and settings where systems are overstretched, access is restricted, and people's needs shift constantly. We need agile systems, ones that can work in emergencies, adapt to development context, but still center the voices of women and girls. And UN 2.0 challenges us, all of us, to do better, to reimagine the way we collect, the way we monitor, and the way we act on data. So Track It is our answer to that call. It is a people-centered, real-time monitoring system that brings us closer to the women and girls we serve and keeps us accountable to them. And while it started, it was born in the humanitarian context. Now we've scaled it beyond. Today, we're using Track It to monitor how the private sector investments in gender equality are affecting women and girls and how they're affecting real outcomes. And we hear directly from women in any context about what they need and what is changing. And the monitoring system that we've created also recognizes that change does not happen in isolation. It is shaped by a number of factors, from social norms, economic factors, access to services, and whether women and girls can exercise and access their basic human rights free from violence. With Track It, we can capture that contextual information, we use it to understand our programs better, we adapt faster, we respond better, and we track the real progress. So what does it actually look like in practice? So let me walk you through how it works and explain to you in simple words what it does. So Track It helps us answer three main questions. What is our reach? And what is the actual change? The impact, the transformative impact we bring about in the lives of women and girls? And what factors influence our ability directly or indirectly to bring about these changes in their lives? And the way the system is designed, it is designed with a regional registration form in its heart. And that form is linked to pre-post questionnaires that have been tailored to every single thematic area of UN Women's work and every single type of activity or service that UN Women provides, from programs under political participation to ending violence against women and girls to social norms. The registration form acts as a central tool that can be used by individuals directly, as well as civil society organizations, the private sector, government partners, and others. And we are about to shift the presentation now, maybe Michael, to the actual system and the tools. I spoke about the registration form. So the registration form is divided into three sections. It helps us understand the demographic profile. And so it gives us a better, a clearer picture of who we are reaching. It also gives us information about the reach by activity, by program area. So we get a unified view across multiple operations in the region. But here's the interesting part, which is the third section. It secures consent to follow up with participants beyond immediate program duration. And this is a game changer for those who would like to measure the long-term impact of programs and activities. In many settings, we are legally restricted from contacting participants again. But through this form, we're able to request and document their consent to remain part of our monitoring system. This allows us to track progress over time and answer a fundamental question that we're often asked by donors, by stakeholders: what are the long-term results for women and girls? And we are also able to use it in the most complex environment when in-person data collection is unsafe or impossible. And we've experienced this firsthand last year. But because of the system, we are able to bring in timely, relevant evidence that is used to shape humanitarian decisions and not just documenting them. This form, as you can see, is accessible through multiple formats. We can send it through a link or through a QR code or even a mobile version. And once it's completed, it generates this unique ID, which is a randomized code that is tied to the participant. That code is sent to them via their preferred channels, through WhatsApp, through email, or they can just simply write it down. The code allows us to confidentially track responses over time and link follow-ups without storing any personally identifiable data or compromising their information. So from there, participants, whether they're aid recipients, private sector actors, voters, political aspirants, they all become part of a dynamic, inclusive monitoring system. And this helps us move beyond manual spreadsheets and slow reporting cycles. It connects us directly with the partners and the communities on the ground, even including the most challenging contexts. It can be used in remote locations where online data collection is not possible. The data goes into a cloud-based dashboard, which is built then for immediate use. It visualizes trends, gaps, and community feedback in near real time. So the core of our system, as you can see, is a trusted open source data collection platform that is used by hundreds of organizations globally, including the UN. It allows our partners, field staff, and even volunteers collect structured data from tablets, phones, online or offline. All the tools that we've developed are available in 3 languages: Arabic, English, and Kurdish, and soon French. And what makes it different is that what happens after the data is collected. It doesn't sit in a spreadsheet or waits to be cleaned weeks later. It flows directly into a real-time dashboard where it's cleaned, categorized, visualized automatically. So this automation isn't just about saving time, it's about reducing errors, empowering decision makers to act faster. Program teams can see the changes on the ground as they happen and not months later. We know from the beginning that this system was had to be used by people on the ground, not just data scientists or M&E offices. We built it on purpose to make it accessible to a wide range of users, whether it's grassroots women's organizations, whether UN staff, or even national partners. No coding required, just a phone, a form, and a connection to the dashboard. And I am going now to hand over to Michael. Michael, maybe you can take us through the dashboard and the functionalities of it. Over to you.
Yeah. Great. Thanks, Iris. So I'm going to just do a live demonstration of the Track It dashboard so we can sort of quickly go through it, and I'll highlight some of the key findings as well as some of the core functionalities. And so I'll just sort of jump through it and give some examples. This is starting out at the regional dashboard. So this is an overview of all programs and all countries' data that's been registered through the Track It system. You can see that right now it's saying there's 105,000 beneficiaries, which is a lot, but it's actually just a really small fraction of the total reach of UN Women in the Arab States region. This is just, the people that we have data on through the registration. And this is, something that's still sort of growing and we're developing. Not all programs have come online yet. There you can see out of the 105,000 beneficiaries that have been registered through the system, this has been done through 65 different implementing partners throughout 10 different countries. And of those direct beneficiaries, there's over 490,000 indirect beneficiaries, as well as over 1.3 million data points in all the surveys that have been collected so far. So this just gives you sort of like a big overview of all data that's available. Before you sort of jump in and explore the results, which it brings you to the demographic landing page, which is the demographic data that's available on all of these beneficiaries. It just includes sort of the regional level, so it's all programs in all countries, as well. It has filters. So if you want to filter by, say, a specific partner and see their sort of demographic data from their beneficiaries, or look at specific groups by marital status, you can sort of put these filters in place, and they remain available on all pages as you sort of go through it. After the demographic page, the regional level really includes sort of all the high level indicators. It doesn't really dive deep into all the data that's available through the surveys, just to sort of keep it sort of summarized and sort of accessible and digestible for everyone. So you can go through the different programs and look at their high level sort of indicator results. This is looking at the humanitarian program of the entire region. So out of 69,000 beneficiaries and their baseline inline surveys, you can see that the indicators are grouped by areas of change. And just to point out some sort of key indicators is the decision-making abilities. This is actually considered a gender transformative indicator because it's sort of a good measure of sort of women's empowerment through their influence on different decision-making abilities within the household, as well as it's good to see sort of the deployment of coping strategies and sort of after receiving services, if those will sort of lessen over time, those different coping strategies. Before I move on, Iris, anything to add to that? The indicators?
Thank you. No, this is something on the coping strategies. This is something that we're actively measuring and assessing. Normally in emergencies, women tend to deploy negative coping strategies that can be harmful in nature, and some of them can have irreversible impact on their lives, on their safety, on their dignity. So the most types of coping strategies that we purposefully try to address are those emergency and crisis type. And it's good to see that there is a reduction overall in the results. Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, thanks, Iris. And so, yeah, you can go through the different program and see the sort of high-level results, and it also gives, information on sort of how these were calculated and the importance of them. It gives you a little bit of view of data collection to see number of surveys that have been sort of collected by country, program, and or over time, as well as you can get a quick sort of map view of where all the surveys are being collected by program, and it's filterable by program and country as well. If you were to go through the different countries down here, it would just show you the same high-level results, but it would just be filtered by country and not the whole region. So what we actually have is just to sort of manage the data storage of everything and the sort of data flows. We have these separate country-level dashboards that are organized by program that go deeper into the survey data that's available. So I'll show the Iraq dashboard as an example, which looks a lot like the regional dashboard with the sort of high-level results page and the demographic landing page. But this one actually has multiple pages diving deep into the survey, and it's grouped by the survey sections. So the first section is the enablers or the influencing factors. And those are grouped into 4 different pillars: basic rights, economic factors, social factors, and agency pillar. If we looked at agency, we can see here, sort of the change in time over sort of support and tension for women in doing their own work from their household and their economic empowerment, as well as their sort of the sort of improvement in their knowledge and skills. And so you can see the baseline 62% said they had both knowledge and skills in relation to their economic empowerment. And at the inline surveys, it was 88% that reported that. So you can see that sort of positive increase here. And I'm going to sort of jump through just for time to insights, where I'm going to also hand it back to Iris to quickly talk about the voices.
Thank you, Michael. So we wanted to take a monitoring like one step further. So what we've done is that we've leveraged the new feature that Kobo Toolbox had, which was the audio one. What we've done is that we've mainstreamed across all of our questionnaires, the pre and the post questions, audio questions, whereby we get the voices and the qualitative inputs as in voice recording. That kind of input, moving beyond just adding text, but actually recording voice, allows us to dig deeper into our programs, understand the situation of women and girls, the barriers, the enablers, etc. Over to you, Michael.
Yeah, thanks for adding that. And so, yeah, actually, just before I go through the results, just to talk about how this was performed, it was done through a new sort of built-in feature that we have in Kobo, where it allows you to take audio recordings, and with natural language processing, you can auto-transcribe and auto-translate them to all the sort of supported languages. So our process was through these recordings that were in Arabic, we had human sort of verifiers auto-transcribe and translate them, review the transcriptions and translations for accuracy and edit them when needed, and then go through and actually perform analysis on those results. So you can, within the tool, you can also do the analysis, and then that data of the analysis data, which is like, tags or just open comments about the specific responses and, looking for themes, that data then is stored directly in your Kobo project, and we fed it back into the dashboard where you can see the aggregate results. And so this is looking at the responses, the analyzed responses from the economic empowerment audio question, which is asking for insight and how the program contributed to their economic empowerment, to the beneficiaries. And so, yeah, you can see then this analysis theme that comes from one of the questions in the analysis tab is, what factors are contributing to women's economic empowerment? And the most common one was access to resources, was 58% reported. And then knowledge and skills was 40% reported, which is sort of validating, seeing that in the enablers, it was a jump from 60% to 80%, saying that they have skills and knowledge and their economic empowerment now. So just showing that that's really what they need and what sort of the changes are happening. On the right, you can see these are actually all the English translations. So if you want to like click and just filter, you can view those sort of responses for that was reported, as well as you can use the filters to also filter and look at specific group data. So that I'm going to move on. That was the humanitarian, regional, and country dashboards. Just really quickly, I was going to show the WEPS dashboard, which is Women Economic Principles, and this is data from 150 companies that are private sector companies. There's over 600 in total, but this 150 are the ones that responded to the survey. So this is who we have the data on. And those companies are spread out over 16 countries and have a total of 57,000 women employees. This is different because it's not a direct beneficiary dashboard survey. It's for the whole company. But the overview shows that across the board of types of employees, general employees, managers, and executives of these companies, around 33% are women in each category. As well, if you look at some of the recruitment numbers, 72%, when they were reflecting back in the previous year, which is 2023, 72% said they increased women number of employees, and that was a total of 5,600. And 30% said that they promoted women, which was a total of 2,800. And then out of the 1,200 women who took maternity leave, 98% of them were retained. So yeah, this just gives us able to follow up on the signatories and sort of their commitment and sort of what they've done to sort of go along and support these principles. And lastly is the communications dashboard. And this is just unique and interesting to show because it's not actually using any Kobo data. It's using social media scraping. And then we're performing sentiment and emotional analysis on posts and news articles that are found that relate to gender equality and the Arab States region and UN Women. So we're also doing that in addition for the communications team. So that wraps up the demonstration portion of the presentation. Thanks.
Thank you, Michael. So that's it. That's Track It. It's an inclusive tool that helps us move away from process to outcome, from anecdote to evidence, and from being reactive to being ready. I'm going to pass over now to Damla, who will introduce the other solution, pushing the boundaries of what is possible. Damla, over to you.
Thank you. Timo, if you could put up the presentation. Right. Dear colleagues, today we will present you the outcome of UNDP in Afghanistan and UNAMA project, which aim to predict multidimensional vulnerability levels across Afghanistan. Next slide, please. Based on our project outcome, we propose the establishment of an enhanced policy decision-making platform empowered by augmented intelligence. This shared platform would consist of two integrated platforms, a knowledge hub where human expertise, contextual understanding, and qualitative insights are consolidated, and a data lab driven by AI and data science where structured and unstructured data are analyzed to generate predictive insights. And this platform would not be on the field missions, but can include as many UN entities which serve in the same area in same country. Together, these components form an augmented intelligence-driven platform. Such a holistic collaborative platform is essential at a time when the UN must optimize its support for the most vulnerable populations amidst shrinking resources and multidimensional threats. And this approach also aligns with the principles of UN 2.0, ensuring that decision-making is not only data-driven, but also ethically grounded and operationally effective. I will elaborate on this platform a bit later. Next slide, please. First, I talked about augmented intelligence. So what does that mean? How is it different than artificial intelligence, neural networks, deep learning, all those fancy names nowadays we have been hearing everywhere. So basically, in a nutshell, augmented intelligence is the amalgamation, a fusion of human design and machine design, and it borrows the best of the two worlds. What are they? For human assessment, like analysts like myself, we use different like structured analytic techniques, causal loops, driver-based scenario building, so on and so forth, to make assessment. And as human beings, we are very good at causation, cause and effect relationship. We can diagnose analytically and actually we understand complexity, complex environments, including our values, factoring in our values and even our feelings to what is happening around us. The problem with human brain is it's unfortunately can deal only with a small quantity of quantities in terms of data, and the signals, meaning measurable elements, which show us which scenario or what is unfolding, what is ahead of us. We can only deal with strong signals, and the early warning that we do is actually late warning. On the other hand, machines can deal with big data. They can dig down correlations, find out hidden patterns, and because of this, they can actually find out those weak signals. And when they do conduct early warning, it's actually, in literal terms, early warning. Next slide, please. So the fusion, the synergy that human intelligence and machine intelligence together create is from cognitive point of view, machines enhance speed and scale, humans ensure contextual accuracy and adapt strategies accordingly. From knowledge point of view, machines perform large-scale analysis, humans interpret results in the context of broader goals. From ethical point of view, humans define the ethical guardrails for machines, ensuring socially responsible outputs, whereas the machines can actually mitigate the biases. There is an interdependency between them. Humans and machines together collaborate to uncover hidden patterns, automate tasks, and ensure that predictions align with organizational values. And together, they create augmented intelligence-driven prediction model, which I will call AIPM from this point on, whereas the conceptual framework is created by human beings and the oversight belongs to human beings, whereas machine learning models forecast by through analysis of large data sets. Next one, please. So we talked about human intelligence. How does it work? Our use case is predicting multidimensional vulnerability levels across Afghanistan. The use case, of course, identified by the subject matter experts. Then the vulnerability is also identified, as you can see, economic, financial, environmental, and essential services by the subject matter experts. They then, as you will see later, create the backbone of the conceptual framework for augmented intelligence by identifying indicators. All this actually is a result of working in causation, cause and effect between the levels, between the different vulnerabilities and indicators. Next slide. This, as you can see here, after we have the indicators, starting from indications, actually the machine learning algorithms can take over to dig down. As I said earlier, they can find correlation and hidden patterns at levels that we cannot even as human beings can foresee. And as you can see, this drill down is exponential. Next one, please. This is our prediction pipeline. Here we are talking about 4 vulnerabilities, but actually you can use this prediction pipeline in conflict prediction. You can use it for climate pattern prediction, so on and so forth. And as you can see, the first 3 instrumental steps belong to the human intelligence. Timo?
Thank you. So yes, during the human intelligence part, you see that the data is collected and also the conceptual framework that Damla talked about earlier is created. And this is used by the machine intelligence to create a predictive model, a machine learning model for each individual indicator. In this use case, that means that there are almost 100 machine learning models trained, predicting values for the upcoming period. And this conceptual framework is then used to recombine all these indicators, all these predictions back into the vulnerabilities, and the combination of these vulnerabilities get back to the multi-dimensional vulnerability levels across Afghanistan, which you can see in the map on the top. I'm going to paste a link to an article that we published for if people are interested in really in the details of this pipeline, so anyone can read it. Over to you, Damla.
Thank you. Next slide, please. So we will go back to the platform and we'll show different functions whereby we use AIPM. So far, we have a little bit talked about the prediction side of things, but actually AIPM can be used as a capacity indicator for resilience and early recovery. Basically, AIPM predicts MVL using economic, financial, environmental, and essential services vulnerabilities. And these assessments act as proxies for resilience and recovery capacity. We will actually show you how it works, but theoretically, by looking at these assessments, of course, in a visualized platform, we can, for instance, assess that higher vulnerability score means lower resilience and recovery capacity. Lower vulnerability score means stronger systemic and resilience and readiness. There is also another reason why we are using augmented intelligence instead of other AI models or deep learning or neural networks. Now, if we are working on the normal capacity baseline, meaning our daily work, actually there is no problem. We can use neural networks, we can use deep learning or other AI AI models. The problem starts when there is a shock, when there is a paradigm shift. It could be a crisis, it could be some economic crisis, it could be a natural hazard, so on and so forth. Then we can see that there is a huge, an immediate dip in the capacity gap. Now, when we use classic traditional AI models or deep learning, unless we have big data and we train the model, the model will continue predicting based on the old paradigm. And of course, it takes time to collect that kind of big data and also to train the model and retrain the model. Sometimes we even may need to change the model. But here, because we are working with the conceptual framework, which I will show you what that means visually, we can actually change immediately subject matter experts, and it could be something as simple as, let's say, wearing masks during COVID. It's not a huge shock, but it will have an impact in the outcome. So it can be reflected in the framework, and the machine algorithms will immediately start interpreting all the data from that point on based on the new paradigm. Next one, please. So now we are going to show you what the platform looks like. Yeah. This is our, we will show you different modules, functions, but this is the main dashboard. Here, the AIPM MVL prediction dashboard is the central feature of the platform, and it offers an interactive overview of predicted multi-dimensional vulnerability levels across Afghanistan. So this dashboard is divided into 4 interactive sections. Each section provides users with different perspectives on vulnerability trends and drivers across Afghanistan. I will start with section 1. It is upper left quadrant of the dashboard. This is, as I mentioned, prediction across Afghanistan. This section displays a color-coded map showing MVL predictions for Afghan provinces for a selected year. You can use the vertical time selector to toggle between years from 2020 to 2026, and hovering over a province reveals MVL alert levels. This could be low, medium, high, critical, and an overall vulnerability score between 0 and 4, and individual principal component scores for economic, financial, environmental, and essential services. The second section is prediction heat map. This is upper right quadrant of the dashboard. This matrix heat map provides year-over-year comparisons of MVL levels for all provinces, and this is particularly good to track the evolution of vulnerability and also evaluating the impact of interventions or shocks. When we go down left, this is principal component vulnerability maps. Here, each map, as you can see, show economic in red, financial blue, environmental orange, essential services green, geographical spread of the 4 principal components, and uses a graded scale from 0 to 4 with darker tones representing higher levels of vulnerability. On the bottom right, this is principal component averages. And this bar chart displays the average value for each principal component per year, and it corresponds to the MVL heat map and enables users to compare national level trends and detect which component contributes most to overall vulnerability. Now, overall, if we, for instance, click on a province, let's say Badakhshan province, you will see that the entire dashboard will focus on Badakhshan. Section 1, I will isolate the province on the map. Section 2 will show MVL evolution. Section 3 will display component-specific vulnerabilities for the selected year, and Section 4 will compare provincial vulnerabilities against national averages. Highlighted bars represent the selected province, and faded background bars represent the national average. The next function is conceptual framework. This is really very important. The conceptual framework serves as the human intelligence component of the model. It provides a transparent, I would like to underline the transparent here, view into how predictions are made by organizing and visualizing the relationship between principal components, in this case, economic, financial, environmental, and essential services, indicators, measurable elements linked to each principal component, and features, meaning data points used by the machine learning model to forecast each indicator. At the moment, we have 95 indicators. Each indicator have their specific algorithm, and 387 features used to predict these indicators. At the core of this module, as you can see, it is explainable. There is no black box. There is no, like, if we use, let's say, deep learning or neural networks, we would get the outcome, but it would not answer the why. So this is really very important. And secondly, it is dynamic and modular. Why is this important? Because then, as new data becomes available, or if there is a contextual conditions shift, for instance, it could be political developments, natural disasters, social upheavals, or as I said, like introducing masks during COVID. This ensures that predictions remain valid, relevant, and grounded in current realities. So the conceptual framework serves as the both technical blueprint, the backbone, and the ethical compass. And as you can see, the indicators have different colors because it is a closed loop and it trains itself all the time. The algorithms actually can also show the accuracy levels of the indicators. If they are green, that means high accuracy. If it is yellow or orange, medium accuracy. If it is red, that means low accuracy. If we have red, that means we need to revisit that indicator. Maybe it's not a good indicator, or the features we are using for that specific indicator actually need to be revisited. The other module function we have is shock modeling, dynamic vulnerability assessment and shock modeling. This module can be used in different ways, and as you can see, even the greens, even the reds have different shades. And I would like to here emphasize that both in the prediction model, the first dashboard, or here, when we talk about greens or reds, these are in comparison to each other. They are not absolute values. This is really very important. Why? If you are a decision maker and if you have a limited resources, then it's essential, it's imperative that we can prioritize based on the data-driven analysis. So here we can conduct actually rapid damage and needs assessment. We can do shock modeling. We can do what if scenario modeling for natural disasters, armed conflict, economic crisis. And based on this, we can actually have risk-informed and evidence-based planning. So let's say if we want to conduct crisis simulation, the shock modeling feature transforms the model into a dynamic simulation tool to model the potential impact of external shocks in real time and act before crisis conditions fully unfold. To give you an example, let's say there is a severe flood event in northern Afghanistan, threatening both an environmental infrastructure and basic services. As you can see, on the right-hand side, at the moment, the distribution of weights are the same, all 25 out of 100. We can increase the weights for environmental vulnerability and essential services vulnerability. And as you can see, the model will dynamically recalculate the MVLs, highlighting provinces where vulnerability escalates most sharply. These insights allow for targeted anticipatory interventions. For instance, the decision makers can decide to proposition medical supplies or deploy mobile water purification systems, so forth. And by using simulation function, we can mimic the effects of a natural disaster scenario, and the simulation will reveal shifting vulnerability levels across provinces, empowering evidence-based response planning. Next slide, please.
Yes, thank you, Damla. The model also has a backend, of course, to actually get to the predictions which are shown in the dashboard we just shown. And what you see here on the top basically are all terms which also came across in the prediction pipelines, the pre-processing, the feature extraction, the model creation, indicator forecasting, and the multidimensional vulnerability level computation. So if there's new data, instead of having to do all the data science and difficult stuff in a coding environment, you can just click on the indicator forecasting and MVR computation and run selected steps, and this will do everything for you. In the case that you will add new vulnerabilities, or if the conceptual framework has changed, you can just click on all steps and it will retrain all the models and do the prediction again as well. But it also does more. So as you could see in the dashboard, we were showing 2026. And this is already possible because large large proportion of the data is available through APIs automatically, and it gets it as soon as it's available. So if you click on the prefill and edit, you will get all the data that's already available. It will show you the percentage. You can even then add data manually if you already have analysis done or if you have any data available. Or you can click on the estimate missing values and you can work with the scarce data you already have early on to make the early prediction even earlier. And in the bottom, the dashboard itself is embedded just to have everything nice in one place as well.
Right. What is really very important here, most of us work in data scarce environments. So this model optimized specifically for data scarce environments, and the pipeline enables continuous model updates even with fragmented or incomplete data set. And it requires minimal manual intervention. And the architecture is scalable, meaning you can use it in SharePoint, or you can use it something more sophisticated, like, for instance, UNDP Unified Data Hub. Next one, please. What is really very important for UN, because we are not a private company or we are not expecting any profit, it is really very important that everything we are doing is in line with ethical AI, and it is actually far more important than using the technology itself. And in that, Secretary General's data strategy is really very important. It has 3 pillars: governance, people, and technology. Using AIPM actually fulfills all these pillars. Next slide, please. So the first pillar, governance and ethics. So it means ensuring responsible AI and data use. So the alignment is, everything is transparent, as you can see, thanks to the conceptual framework, and it uses explainable AI. There are ethical guardrails ensuring fair, bias, mitigated predictions. The capacity building is really very important because we don't want to outsource everything and we don't want to rely on in everything outside. Therefore, we build the capacity, leading to data-driven decision making by our colleagues. So in that sense, we created trainings. We trained our colleagues at different levels as users or software engineers, and we also incorporated software adoption groups because they are the main users. Their ideas in the interface. And the third one is technology and architecture. It needs to be scalable and interoperable AI systems because we are operating in different regions. So scalability is very important. Platform agnostic design is really very important. And of course, sustainability. So because this is automated data processing and model retraining, these requirements can be satisfied by AIPM. Next slide, please. And I will tie it back to our first proposition. As UN family, not only field missions or only UNDP, but as a UN family, wherever we are serving, we can create these such platforms for better, more accurate prediction, crisis resilience, and early recovery. Because each agency has their own specific focus. Together, we can create a holistic platform for holistic understanding. And then together, we can have integrated predictive analytics. We can have early warning systems. We can optimize resource allocation. We can plan for resilience better. And we can provide far more accurate and data-driven recommendations for the decision makers using real-time monitoring. With this, I'm concluding our presentation. Thank you.
Great, Damla. Shall we open up the floor for questions? It was a very
Sure.
interesting presentation.
Sure. Let me see. Colleagues, you can also take the mic if you have any questions for us, for any of the groups. Just a moment. Okay. Do you have any questions?
There is one question on
Can't
the
see it. Yeah.
on the Q&A segment,
Oh,
but I'm
Q&A
going
segment.
to ask Michael if he can take it. Michael, the question is, as AI systems, maybe Michael and Tim as well, as AI systems are increasingly used for real-time monitoring prediction in humanitarian context, how do you ensure that they don't reinforce existing biases or inequalities, especially when training data lacks diversity? So we're going to be answering the question on the Trackit side and maybe hand over to you and Timothy.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, Iris. Yeah, I can sort of give a response based off of our experience and sort of what we've done to sort of address that. It's a really good question and a tough question. But yeah, and I'm not an AI specialist, but I can speak to it from a project management view of what we did. But I think just simply put, humans need to be involved at every part of the process, whether it's in the building of the models, and not just using out of the box and trusting that those out of the box models are going to work perfectly for you and your specific needs or context. So having humans being part of that process, whether it means modifying the script or building their own, that is one thing. And then also part of the analysis for verification. So not just trusting the results, but actually going through and actually verifying that these results reflect what is expected and they seem to be accurate and reflective of the context. So for example, in the natural language processing, we had, human sort of transcribers and translators and analysis, that were, spoke Arabic and Kurdish and also were from the region. So they could understand the context. So, those auto transcriptions, translations were definitely not perfect. And it also relied on the audio quality. But having a human that's familiar with the context and the dialects was on the end of verification was like super key in order to make sure that we had accurate translations in English. As well, we didn't really show it, but we did a lot of exploratory qualitative analysis last year with large language models on the actual analysis. So doing, automated analysis. What's shown in the dashboard is just the manual analysis, but we were also using sort of a large language model to automate the analysis and test that. And what we did, and I'm not going to remember the right terms, but we first tested it with humans to see how often they agreed on their analysis results. So, a human's never always going to agree with a human. And so you can't expect a computer to 100% always agree with what a human would code it. And so we did an exercise where we took our two sort of support specialists. They analyzed the same translations, and then we had a sort of agreeability rate, and that was around like 80%. And so what we wanted our models to do is also get about 80% agreeability of what the humans sort of analyze. And so that's what we were doing to sort of tweak the model and tweak the sort of, I guess, simply the prompts that go into it in order to get more accurate results based off how the humans agreed. And lastly, just the social media. For the social media sentiment analysis and emotional analysis, we used out of the box large language models, the BERT and Roberta, but we were able to sort of customize those scripts. We didn't just like plug and play and rely on that. We actually were able to customize it throughout the process. It was an iterative process to get to results that we were happy with and how they were analyzing those social media. So that's what we did on our end to sort of make sure that we sort of addressed that sort of issue and keep sort of humans involved to make sure we're not overlooking anything important.
Yes. Thank you. So for the augmented intelligence methodology, it's one of the key aspects of it. It takes this into account. So because we're using the conceptual frameworks, which use the human knowledge to define how the prediction is going to work. So instead of following just the biases found by the machine learning to make the most optimal prediction, then again, there's the human in the loop all the time to check the prediction. So a lot of the things that Michael said are by design in the augmented intelligence methodology. So yeah, so this is basically entirely built on to not make to use the risks and pitfalls of artificial intelligence, but by augmenting it with the qualities of the human to actually assess this. So it's a very important question, and more people should ask this every day because it's really, really important. Should I ask?
Yeah.
Yeah, please.
Also, one participant is asking, have you considered using more than the 4 principal components in the model? Yes, the model, as we mentioned, actually can be used. It's a blueprint. It can be used for many things, whatever we want. The only reason here it's for components is because UNDP subject matter experts at the beginning were focusing on those 4 vulnerabilities. So we can expand it as exponentially, really. Timo, do you want to say anything about this?
Yes, and that's also a really great insight because let's say that now when you're using it, you see we actually should have 2, 3, or 4 more vulnerabilities to have a complete picture. You can easily add them. That's the thing that the model allows. It allows additions of vulnerabilities. It adds changes in the indicators. So this is like these questions as well. The subject matter experts need to keep asking themselves, are we complete? Can we make this better? Are things changing to really get most out of this methodology?
We have one question about transparency. When you refer to transparency, is in reference of the public accessibility of the page, or is it that there is a department of transparency where you can solicit or control the management of information? I think this question fits both initiatives. We can explain first from our project's point of view. When we say transparency, what we mean is the outcomes can be traced back. We can always answer why we are having this output, why we are making this. If we are a decision maker, why are we making this decision? Because of the conceptual framework, step by step. What we are doing, how algorithms which features are used, which indicators are used, how they are performing, all these are open, transparent. Therefore, it can be questioned. And it can be improved. We use the word transparency from that point of view. Timo, Iris, Michael, from your point of view, if you would like to add anything?
Thank you, Damla. At least, for Trackit, when it comes to transparency and the control and management of information, data is collected through grassroots women's organizations that we work with, that we build the capacities, and they have control over their data. So there are some functions, row level functions and access, and what does it call? Access level features that we normally assign the partners. They have complete control over the data, right? But it's just the purpose of Trackit is to bring in all this data into one place where the methodologies are clearly communicated, the indicators, what is it that we're looking for, is also clearly outlined. Damla, I think we are 2 minutes over the hour.
Okay. There are a couple of more questions. I don't know if you wish, we can carry on or we can conclude here.
Up to you.
Yeah, okay, we can carry on very quickly. One colleague is asking, what challenges have you faced in obtaining meaningful consent-based follow-up data from participants in highly mobile or insecure crisis settings? This is for you, Iris and Michael.
Thank you. Demla, I have a feeling that the question, we do have a case where participants last year in one of the countries were super scared of using data collection, mobile data collection, for many reasons. So there hasn't been a complete journey without challenges, but we have faced that challenge last year in Lebanon, around November, where there's a lot of hesitation by many Lebanese, many organizations to collect data on using mobile phone. However, I think after a few weeks after the cessation of the hostilities, we were able to contact the women-led organizations and work closely with them. They have direct contact to those beneficiaries. They trust us, we trust them. So that trust relationship helped us overcome and collect data during some of the most, I would have to say sensitive settings. But it hasn't been without any challenges. But yeah, over to you, Damla.
So Maha is asking, can this module be duplicated in other countries? So I guess I can reply on behalf of two teams. Both of them can be replicated in anywhere. And in Iris and Michael's case, it's already been used in different Arab countries. And in our case, at the moment, it's in Afghanistan, but we are also aiming to expand the areas. And the last question is, was the experience you presented limited to Arab states? Did you present it to other regions?
I am not sure whether this is a UN Women colleague or not, but we have presented it to other regions across UN Women, and there's interest from every single country that we have presented it to. So, but for now, it is just limited to the Arab States region.
Yeah, Maha is saying, I'm asking this because in Somalia there are several early warning systems and are not connected. I don't know, Maha, if you are asking this for our project or for
Damla, it's early warning system. I think this is for
yeah, it's for me.
Yes.
Well, just invite us. We will come and do it for you as well, Maha. No problem. I also worked in Somalia actually, in UNSOM. So it will be a great adventure if we can do it in Somalia or add on what you already have and expand it using augmented intelligence. So with this, I think we can conclude. Thank you very much, everyone who participated to this conversation. We are wishing you a good day, good evening, good afternoon.
And
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.